It was a crisp autumn morning when Sergeant Ryan McAllister and his team set out for a routine training exercise in the rugged terrain of Black Ridge. The dense forest and rocky landscape were known for their challenging conditions, but the squad was well prepared. The patrol consisted of 6 seasoned soldiers: Sergeant McAllister, Corporal Daniels, Private Harris, Private Reynolds, Specialist Jordan, and Medic Collins. The mission was straightforward: navigate through the rugged terrain, establish a temporary outpost, and return by nightfall. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the squad's radio communications began to falter. Static and interference made it difficult to maintain contact with their base, but the team pressed on, confident they could handle the situation. Hours passed, and as the sun began to set, the squad established their outpost near a small clearing. The forest around them grew eerily quiet, and an unsettling fog began to roll in from the deeper woods. Unbeknownst to them, this was the beginning of their descent into an otherworldly nightmare. When the squad failed to return, a search and rescue operation was launched. Teams of soldiers and officers combed through Black Ridge, but no trace of the missing patrol was found. Their equipment, personal belongings, and even their vehicles were gone, leaving no clues as to their whereabouts. The case quickly became one of the most perplexing disappearances in military history. Months turned into years, and the search for the Phantom Squad of Black Ridge became a cold case. Speculation ran wild. Some believed the squad had fallen victim to an accident, while others whispered about supernatural forces at play. In the present day, a new team of investigators is assigned to the case. Led by Lieutenant Sarah Carter, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for solving complex cases, the team includes Detective Alex Moore, forensic expert Dr. Emily Turner, and survivalist guide Tom Hughes. They were tasked with re-examining the evidence and finding any new leads on the mysterious disappearance. The team arrived at Black Ridge with a mix of skepticism and intrigue. They set up their base camp near the old outpost location, hoping to gather fresh evidence. As night fell, the forest around them grew dark and foreboding. The team members set out to search the area, armed with state-of-the-art equipment and a determination to uncover the truth. The investigation quickly took a disturbing turn. Strange occurrences began to plague the team. Radio static disrupted their communications, and unexplained noises echoed through the forest. The team members reported glimpses of shadowy figures moving between the trees and felt a chilling presence that seemed to follow them. Detective Moore discovered disturbing markings on trees and rocks, symbols that resembled ancient runes. Dr. Turner found unusual traces of chemicals in the soil, traces that suggested the presence of something otherworldly. The team became increasingly unnerved as they encountered more evidence of a supernatural influence. One night, as they were reviewing their findings, the team heard a series of low, mournful cries. It sounded like voices pleading for help, but when they followed the sounds, they found nothing but the dense fog and oppressive silence of the forest. As the investigation progressed, Lieutenant Carter's team discovered an old, overgrown path that led to a hidden bunker. The bunker appeared to be an abandoned military facility, but it was still operational. Inside, they found dusty equipment, old maps, and a series of logs that detailed the squad's last moments. The logs described strange occurrences, equipment failures, unexplained phenomena, and a growing sense of dread among the squad members. The final entries revealed that the squad had encountered something malevolent, and their last recorded message was a frantic plea for help before the log abruptly ended. The team's investigation uncovered a hidden compartment in the bunker containing old photographs of the missing patrol members, along with disturbing notes about secret military experiments conducted in the forest. The notes hinted at a project involving unknown forces and the manipulation of natural phenomena. The team's findings led them to a chilling conclusion. The Phantom Squad of Black Ridge had stumbled upon a dark and dangerous secret and experimental project that involved summoning or controlling supernatural entities. The project, which had been abandoned years ago, left behind a residual force that had claimed the lives of the missing patrol members. As they pieced together the evidence, the team realized that the malevolent force responsible for the patrol's disappearance was still active in the forest. The spirit of the squad, along with other trapped souls, was bound to the area, forever tormented by the experiments that had gone wrong. Determined to end the terror, Lieutenant Carter and her team prepared for a final confrontation with the supernatural force. They used the information they had gathered to perform a ritual to banish the malevolent entity and free the trapped spirits. As they conducted the ritual, the forest around them became increasingly chaotic. Shadows twisted and writhed, and the ground trembled with an otherworldly energy. The team faced apparitions of the lost patrol members, their faces twisted in anguish. With each step, the malevolent force grew stronger, but the team pressed on, determined to end the nightmare. The ritual reached its climax as the team recited the final incantations. A blinding light erupted from the center of the forest, and the oppressive presence began to dissipate. The spirits of the lost patrol members were finally freed, and the forest fell silent once more. With the malevolent force banished and the spirits released, Black Ridge began to return to its natural state. The oppressive fog lifted, and the forest's atmosphere grew calmer. Lieutenant Carter and her team emerged from the forest, exhausted but relieved. The disappearance of the Phantom Squad of Black Ridge was finally understood, and their story became a poignant reminder of the dangers of tampering with forces beyond human comprehension. The investigation had uncovered a dark chapter in military history and brought closure to the families of the lost patrol members. As the team left Black Ridge, they knew that their experiences would forever haunt them. The forest held secrets that would remain hidden, and the echoes of the Phantom Squad's fate would serve as a cautionary tale for those who dared to delve into the unknown. Sarah, Jason, Emma, and Luke were a tight-knit group of friends who had known each other since high school. Their shared love for adventure often led them to explore off-the-beaten-path destinations. This summer, they decided to investigate Echo Canyon, a place steeped in local lore and rumored to be haunted. Echo Canyon was famous for its unique acoustics, which caused sounds to reverberate unnaturally. Legends spoke of eerie voices and ghostly apparitions that appeared to those who ventured too close. Despite the warnings from locals, the friends were intrigued by the idea of exploring the canyon, especially after hearing about its unsettling history. On a bright summer morning, the friends set out for Echo Canyon, eager to experience the natural beauty and mysteries it promised. The drive took them through winding roads and scenic views until they reached the trailhead. The canyon loomed ahead, its towering rock formations casting long shadows across the landscape. As they began their hike, the group marveled at the canyon's unique geology and the way sounds seemed to linger and echo longer than normal. They set up camp at a designated site near the canyon's entrance, eager to explore further before nightfall. The day passed with laughter and exploration as they took in the breathtaking views and unique acoustics. However, as dusk approached, the atmosphere began to change. A dense fog rolled in, shrouding the canyon in a ghostly mist. As night fell, the friends gathered around the campfire, sharing stories and enjoying the peaceful surroundings. The fog grew thicker, and the echoes from their conversations seemed to take on a life of their own. The once comforting sounds of their voices now seemed distorted and strange. Emma, who had always been sensitive to paranormal activity, began to feel uneasy. She noticed that the fog seemed to move in unusual patterns and that the echoes from their voices were becoming increasingly unsettling. The friends dismissed her concerns, attributing the strange phenomena to the natural acoustics of the canyon. Later that night, as they settled into their tents, strange noises began to disturb their sleep. Whispers and distant cries filled the air, accompanied by the occasional thud or rustle. Sarah, who had been sleeping lightly, woke to see fleeting shadows moving outside her tent. The next morning, the friends discovered that Luke was missing. His tent was empty, and his belongings were left behind. Panic set in as they realized that Luke had vanished without a trace. They searched the surrounding area, calling out for him and checking the nearby trails, but there was no sign of their friend. As they continued their search, they came across a series of strange markings on the canyon wall, symbols and phrases written in what appeared to be an ancient language. Emma recognized some of the symbols from her studies in folklore and realized they were associated with rituals and supernatural entities. The friends began to piece together the local legends they had heard about Echo Canyon. The canyon was said to be a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead were thin. According to legend, those who ventured too far into the canyon might become trapped in a realm between worlds. Determined to find Luke and unravel the mystery, the friends continued their search. They came across a hidden cave entrance that had been partially obscured by the fog. Inside the cave, they discovered remnants of an old ritual site, candles, remnants of incense, and faded drawings on the walls. As they explored the cave, they found a journal that appeared to belong to a previous explorer who had ventured into the canyon decades earlier. The journal described encounters with ghostly apparitions, unsettling echoes, and a growing sense of dread. The final entry spoke of a ritual to communicate with the spirits of the canyon and a warning to leave before it was too late. As the friends continued to delve deeper into the cave, the supernatural occurrences intensified. The fog outside grew thicker, and the echoes became more distorted and menacing. The friends began to experience disturbing visions and hallucinations, seeing apparitions of people who had vanished long ago and hearing disembodied voices calling their names. Emma, who had been feeling the effects of the supernatural influence more acutely, began to have vivid and disturbing dreams about the canyon. In her dreams, she saw Luke trapped in a dark, fog-shrouded realm, desperately trying to reach out for help. The group realized that the canyon was not only a place of eerie echoes, but also a gateway to a realm where lost souls were trapped. They knew they had to act quickly to find Luke and escape before they too became part of the canyon's dark legacy. The friends, now deeply terrified and exhausted, decided to conduct the ritual described in the journal. They believed it might offer a way to communicate with the spirits and find a way to free Luke from the supernatural realm. Under the guidance of Emma, who had studied the ritual, they set up the ritual site inside the cave. They lit candles, arranged the incense, and recited the incantations from the journal. As they performed the ritual, the atmosphere in the cave grew increasingly charged with supernatural energy. The fog outside thickened, and the echoes became more chaotic. The friends felt a powerful presence surround them, and they saw ghostly figures materialize in the cave. The apparitions of those who had disappeared in the canyon appeared, their faces filled with sorrow and desperation. The ritual reached its climax, and a blinding light filled the cave. The fog began to lift, and the apparitions slowly faded away. The friends felt a wave of relief as the oppressive atmosphere lifted and the echoes returned to normal. As the fog cleared, they heard a familiar voice calling out from the entrance of the cave. It was Luke, who had emerged from the darkness, disoriented but alive. He explained that he had been trapped in a shadowy realm, but had managed to find his way back after sensing the ritual's power. The friends quickly gathered their belongings and left Echo Canyon, vowing never to return. The canyon's eerie echoes and supernatural forces had claimed their place in legend, and the haunting of Echo Canyon became a tale of caution for those who dared to explore its mysteries. As they drove away, the friends looked back at the canyon, now shrouded in a lingering mist. They knew they had faced something truly otherworldly, and that their experiences would forever haunt their memories. The canyon remained a place of dark secrets and restless spirits, waiting for the next explorers to uncover its chilling mysteries. In the summer of 1943, during World War II, Ironwood Forest was a strategic location for a battalion stationed in the area. The dense woods and rugged terrain made it an ideal spot for training exercises and military maneuvers. Among the soldiers was Lieutenant John Carter, a seasoned officer known for his leadership and tactical skills. John was leading a battalion of over 50 men, including Sergeant Mark Thompson, Corporal William Harris, and Private James Lee. The soldiers had been sent to Ironwood Forest for a routine training exercise, but as they ventured deeper into the forest, the atmosphere began to change. The air grew heavier, and an uneasy silence fell over the battalion. The men had heard rumors about Ironwood Forest being haunted, but they dismissed it as superstition. Their focus remained on their training, and they pushed forward into the forest, unaware that they were about to face something beyond their understanding. As night fell, the battalion set up camp in a clearing deep within Ironwood Forest. The men gathered around the campfire, sharing stories and enjoying their meals. The dense canopy overhead blocked out the stars, and the forest seemed to close in around them. During the night, the soldiers reported hearing strange noises, rustling leaves, distant footsteps, and whispers carried by the wind. John and his senior officers tried to reassure the men, attributing the sounds to the forest's wildlife. However, the disturbances continued, and the men's unease grew. The next morning, as the sun began to rise, John discovered that several soldiers were missing. Their tents were empty, and their belongings were left behind. Panic set in as the battalion realized that their comrades had vanished without a trace. John immediately organized a search party, hoping to locate the missing soldiers. They scoured the surrounding area, calling out for their comrades and searching for any signs of their whereabouts. The forest seemed to mock their efforts, with its dense foliage and confusing terrain. As the search continued, the battalion came across strange markings on the tree's symbols etched into the bark and patterns arranged in the undergrowth. The symbols appeared to be ancient and unfamiliar, and the soldiers speculated that they might be related to local folklore or occult practices. The search party also found a series of abandoned campsites, each one appearing to have been used recently. The evidence suggested that the missing soldiers had been moving through the forest, but there were no clear signs of their current location. John and his men discovered a hidden cave entrance covered by dense foliage. Inside the cave, they found remnants of what appeared to be an old ritual site: candles, strange artifacts, and faded drawings on the walls. The cave was damp and cold, and the atmosphere was heavy with an unnatural presence. As they explored the cave, John's men began to experience disturbing phenomena: cold spots, sudden gusts of wind, and unsettling whispers echoing off the cave walls. The sense of foreboding grew, and the soldiers' fear intensified. As the search continued, John decided to investigate the local legends surrounding Ironwood Forest. He learned about a tragic event that had occurred many years before. A group of soldiers from a previous era had vanished under mysterious circumstances, and their disappearance was attributed to a curse placed on the forest. The legend spoke of a malevolent spirit that haunted Ironwood Forest, preying on those who ventured too deep. The spirit was said to be the ghost of a vengeful Native American warrior who had been wronged by the military forces in the past. According to the legend, the spirit sought to capture and imprison anyone who crossed into its territory. John began to suspect that the spirit might be responsible for the disappearance of his men. He gathered his remaining soldiers and shared his findings, urging them to remain vigilant and to be cautious of their surroundings. The battalion, now reduced in number, continued their search for the missing soldiers. As they ventured deeper into the forest, they encountered increasingly bizarre and terrifying phenomena. Shadows moved on their own, and eerie apparitions appeared in the corners of their vision. One night, as they set up camp near the edge of the forest, the soldiers experienced a series of supernatural events. The campfire flickered and died, and an unnatural fog rolled in, obscuring their vision. The whispers grew louder, and the men felt an overwhelming sense of dread. John and his remaining officers decided to conduct a ritual described in an old journal they had found earlier. The ritual was meant to appease the spirit and to offer a way to communicate with it. They hoped that by performing the ritual, they might be able to discover the truth behind the disappearances and find a way to rescue their comrades. Under the guidance of John, the soldiers set up the ritual site in the clearing near their campsite. They arranged candles, burned incense, and recited the incantations from the journal. As they performed the ritual, the atmosphere became charged with supernatural energy. The fog thickened, and the echoes of the forest grew louder and more distorted. The soldiers felt a powerful presence surround them, and the ghostly apparitions of the missing soldiers began to appear. The apparitions looked sorrowful and desperate, their faces filled with a sense of longing and regret. The spirit of the vengeful warrior materialized before them, its form shadowy and imposing. It communicated with John through a series of cryptic messages and visions, revealing that the battalion had been captured by the spirit and imprisoned in a realm between the living and the dead. The spirit explained that it sought revenge for the wrongs committed against it, and that it had been holding the missing soldiers in its domain. The only way to free the soldiers was to offer a sincere apology and to make amends for the past. With the revelation of the spirit's motives, John and his remaining men prepared to make amends. They conducted a second ritual, this time focused on expressing their remorse and honoring the spirit's memory. They made offerings of food, tobacco, and symbolic gifts to show their respect and to seek forgiveness. As they completed the ritual, the fog began to lift, and the ghostly apparitions slowly faded away. The atmosphere in the forest became lighter, and the oppressive feeling that had been hanging over them began to dissipate. John and his men felt a sense of relief as they realized that the spirit's hold on the forest had weakened. They decided to leave Ironwood Forest and to report their experiences to their superiors. The remaining soldiers were exhausted and shaken, but they were grateful to have survived the ordeal. Upon returning to their base, John and his men were debriefed about their experiences in Ironwood Forest. Their report was met with skepticism and disbelief, but their stories became part of military folklore. The vanished soldiers were never found, and their fate remained a mystery. The legend of Ironwood Forest continued to circulate, and the forest was avoided by those who knew of its dark history. John and his men carried the memories of their harrowing experience with them for the rest of their lives. The forest remained a place of fear and intrigue, a reminder of the supernatural forces that lurked within its depths. As time passed, Ironwood Forest became a symbol of the unknown, a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead were blurred, and where the echoes of the past continued to haunt those who ventured too close. If you want to see more horror stories, please like the video, share your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. Stay with us, thank you, and see you in the next videos.